Journey, some ask themselves why the big time is passing by. They want it all and they want it now. No need to wonder how or why. They decide to make a connection with the bearer of light from the other side. It's a self-centered new world reflection. It's a one-way ticket for a hell of a ride. They're making a deal. Whether down at the crossroads or Hollywood and Vine, they're making a deal. Gonna have it all for a moment in time. You may be a kingpin drug dealer who wants the competition out of the way. You may be an elite politician who wants total control and a power play. You may be an aspiring entertainer who wants to have their name in lights. You may be a four-star general who wants the upper hand in a global fight. They're all making a deal. With the chief light bearer from the other side, they're making a deal. It's an alternative thing for one hell of a ride.
Do you have a paranormal story you want to share on Night Dreams Talk Radio? You could be a guest. Email us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with our host, Gary Anderson.
And that is me. I'll tell you what, we're talking about Bigfoot. Are they connected with, UFOs and aliens? Or are they, humanoid that kind of branched out from our civilization to their civilization? Are you there, James?
Yes, I am. I will say that in the early 70s, I know that Stan Gordon there in western Pennsylvania, there was a lot of people having UFO and alien sightings with Bigfoot at the same time. There was a rash of that going on there for a period.
Oh, yeah. The Bigfoot thing kind of goes in and out. Have you noticed this? Unlike right now, the UFO thing has been totally crazy, what's been going on. I mean, there isn't a day I go on and I listen to the news. I read the news there in in one of the articles about, UFOs or somebody being abducted. Or, being picked up on radar or this or that, or the Navy reporting something. It's just overwhelming right now. And you hear, honestly, very little about Bigfoot compared to what it was like a few years ago.
Yeah, you don't see near the reports that you used to. You're right. It's mostly flooded with UFO and abduction reports and sightings and stuff like that. Not very much toward Bigfoot or any cryptid as far as that goes. And once in a while, you'll see a Mothman sighting pop up, but not like you used to with the Bigfoot.
No. I just can't help but think about, that when Bugs called twice, my friend Art's show, and talked about their encounter with the Bigfoot and his buddies, ex-Marines, and they supposedly killed one. And the way they described it just sounds, and they described the type of bullets and the grams and all the type guns they used, and they talked about it didn't take one to kill it. It took numerous major hits, and these are guys that served through Vietnam. They were marksmen. They were good at what they were doing, and it took quite a few hits to kill it. Now, if this is something that's shape-shifting, right? Then why, after it was killed, why didn't it shapeshift into whatever it was, or it disappear or vanish? No, it sat there and bled, from what Bugs said, And they looked at it for a while, and they were scared that they killed a humanoid because it resembled a human. I mean, let's face it, the male had the testicles, it had all the features of a human being. It's just extremely hairy and ugly.
Right, and that's why I stand by the theory that I think there's a type of a hominid that just branched off somewhere different than us, and I do think they're a biological entity, and I do think they have some special abilities maybe that we don't have. I don't think it's paranormal. It's just something different than us, you know. Maybe they can see things we can't see, and maybe they use infrasound. Maybe their hair has cloaking abilities. We don't know. But either way, I just think they're a biological entity, like you said, and they're such massive. You would have to have a high-caliber weapon and many rounds, like you said, to even put one down.
And yeah, and that's what they said, that they shot it numerous times. So I think it took like 12, 15 shots with a high-powered guns, you know. It was the bullets, they really supercharged them. So they were maxed out with grams of, you know, gunpowder before it killed it. And then, you know, again, that when it killed, they killed their mate because the mate got aggressive and came after them. So they were scared. So they did what they, you know, I guess after you served Vietnam, if something comes after you, you're going to defend yourself. The first one, I don't think they meant to kill it. But, you know, Art believed it was true because the guy did send Art a map. But, you know, then, you know, Art told me a lot of times, he said, because we're supposedly in the soil and where this all took place, that the elasticity in the soil, the body wouldn't last much more than a year or so, and it would break down, including the bones. So I don't know. I don't really think that Bigfoot bury their own. I don't know. Maybe there's not that many of them out there. Okay, and per square mile or square 20-mile range or whatever it is, for us to find one. And if they're living deep in the woods, how many people? There's areas out in the forest where humans haven't even walked.
That's true. And here's the thing. You can take, well, like a deer carcass won't last a week. It'll be totally gone between the insects and all numerous animals. Even mice will eat them. And who's to say, like you said, you would have to have a viable breeding stock of, I would guess, 2,000 to 6,000 across the country to, you know, but they're sparsely scattered, you know, just to keep the species around. But, you know, who's to say, like you said, I've never seen a dead bear in the woods. I've seen deer after they've been dead shortly after, but you go back a week later, they're gone. Well,
you know, again, I grew up with, you know, my family. We went camping every summer. Okay, so each summer we probably went camping every weekend. Then we would go camping for like 2 weeks and then another 2 weeks. So if you add it all up, probably a month and a half every year. From when I was a little kid all the way up to, you know, whatever. And then when I got married, I had kids, we went camping. I saw one dead deer one time, and I'll tell you, it was not much. It left of it, and it probably was only dead a day or two. And I tell you, it wasn't much left of it because of all the other, you know, animals eating and gnawing away and the insects.
That's true. I mean, you name it, right down to the mice, the bugs. Everything gets a bite. I mean, it doesn't last long. And then you know, flies. Right? Man, oh man, they can really tear them up.
And not just that. You know, when they go out and find human bodies out in the woods, you know, when they weren't buried by one of the serial killers. They just don't find the remains. Even a hunter, for example, right? It goes out there and has a heart attack, drops over dead, you know, and they find the body a year later. They don't find much because the bones, because it's all scattered. They might find maybe part of a leg bone or maybe a skull, but everything else is like gone. It's been scattered. Where is it?
Exactly. Unless you die and get buried quickly in a desert where it's real dry, or you're on a mountaintop somewhere and it's so cold that you freeze. Otherwise, you're going to be, you know, nature takes its course. You're going to be gone. It's just the way of nature.
Yeah. Well, Sam, have you noticed where you even live, animals during the summertime, you know, that die out? How many animals' bodies have you found? Carcasses have you found?
Aside from roadkill, which seems to be fairly common, with the occasional elk or deer that's been hit, not too much out in the woods. You know, that if they were off by natural causes and not so much by being hit by a car, you don't see anything in the woods. You don't. I mean, seriously, if something's killed, it's usually taken care of immediately.
Yeah, and it doesn't take long. I mean, I've been out in the woods where, when you smell death, that sickening, sweet, bitter smell when something's like dying and decaying. But but it doesn't last long out there. So if a Bigfoot dies, okay, let's say, I don't know what their life expectancy is, but if they die out there in the middle of somewhere, how, what the odds are of being found? Especially, I mean, if there was tens of thousands of Bigfoots, I think we'd find remains of them. But there isn't.
Yeah, but if they have a social order, of sorts, they're going to bury their own dead, or they can make sure the body is taken care of so you can't find it. And that's making an assumption they have a social order.
No, we don't know that. That's the whole point. They might have a mate and might have their children, but, I don't know, because, again, it depends on the intelligent level, how far they're developed. Okay? We bury our dead for the respect, okay? We do it because we're not trying to, it's the respect of the dead. And we also know, too, from the wars, the civil wars, or going the medieval wars, if you don't bury the dead, diseases develop, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, well, Bigfoot wouldn't understand that, wouldn't even associate or think about that. So we're going in a culture or something we don't know. We're just assuming. So if the one drops dead, they might sit there and mourn and cry for a while and then leave and just leave it there. I mean, they might not even think about, well, I'm going to bury it for, because we don't want somebody to find it, or we're going to bury it because of respect.
Well, you got to accept the possibility that they do have a social order, though.
Well, we don't know. So yes, we can go either.
No, we don't know. We don't know that for sure, and we also don't know if they don't have a social order.
We
so
don't
you can't
know.
really put more gravity on one than the other.
We can't. That's what I was saying. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I have mixed feelings after having these guests on. I can see their point, but I really don't. I can't tie, in my mind, Bigfoot into the paranormal. I just can't. I just got a funny feeling there's more to Bigfoot than being a spirit or a whatever. I do feel they're flesh and blood.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think they're paranormal in the sense like spirits and all that stuff. I think they're a biological cryptid that we just haven't discovered yet. I think they're a type of a hominid that went one way and we went the other. And again, when things die in the woods, there's bears, coyotes, and wolves. These things make sure order of that stuff, and they've got noses that smell that.
Oh yeah.
When something dies.
Yeah, and you got cougar and mountain lions and all that stuff. I mean, they smell flesh, and they're there.
Yeah, what I like about this roundtable is that we have differing views about things, don't we?
Well, I can say
little bit.
I can say I do feel that there's something there. Okay, and
Yep.
I just don't know what it is, and that's why I'm hoping we can find it. But if you sit there and think, well, it's paranormals, and it's not really there. It's a flesh and blood. I disagree with that. I do believe our planet is full of portals. I really think they open and close everywhere. I do think there's some that's open all the time. If you look at the triangle off of Florida, if you start looking at the whole world, there's other, triangles that fit in the same, you know what I'm saying? Longitude and degrees all around the world. And strange things happen in those.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all over the place. Bermuda, Michigan Triangle, and of course places in the mid-Atlantic Ocean where the lines intersect.
Australia, China, and all that.
Oh yeah, they're all over the place.
Japan, Alaska, Lake Superior. Every place has got a triangle somewhere. It's funny, even where I live, there's a triangle called the Bigfoot Triangle where there's all kinds of sightings and weird stuff going on, I don't think it's paranormal. That's just my view. But I do think that aliens, if they're abducting